Coming to you from the historic Hart Building in Marysville, California, in Studio 93, In the Tank with Fish, with your host, Bob Fischetti.
Well, I am really excited because I don't know why. It just seems like I think the last episode, Kelly wasn't here.
Yep.
And we're just not doing it anymore. I have decided I'm going to adopt her. She has to move into my house with the kids. I mean, I get like pluses, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's bonus kids.
Yeah,
You'd be
bonus
fine.
kids. We'll all sit around the living room, right?
Although I really hope that you like being called bro and bruh, because that's what we're currently on right now.
Oh, I could do that. I could do bro and bruh, right? So this is another episode of Fish and Minnow in the Tank. And I just want to say this. I found out that, about the subscribe thing, right?
Yeah.
So you subscribe and then, if we're on, it'll show up. It'll tell them, hey, that there's one coming up, which we are on YouTube, 93Q TV. Mm-hmm. The other thing is I don't really still understand likes, right? Either like me or no. But I do understand share.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that share means if you share it, then everybody on your feed can see the video.
Yeah.
So if somebody's saying, well, I can't get to the video, well, just share it and then your friends will know.
Yeah. And you can actually copy the link and send it in a text. Like if you're on and you want to watch it, or you find one that you really think someone would like, you can send it that way too.
Well, you would think I'd know because people would go, oh, you had so-and-so on, right? And I go, yeah. Well, where do I find that? On the internet.
Okay, I'm going to start copying the link and sending it to you.
Would you do that?
You can send it out. Yes, I will help you.
And it's like, I apologize, right? So there's a couple of things I want to talk about. One, I just miss you tremendously.
I miss you every time I'm not here. Yeah. But I had a sick kiddo last week. I see what's happening over here.
This is
Were you part of this? Look at how much Kurt is giggling over there. He is like a schoolgirl just dying over there.
So
what is that for?
Well, I felt really bad because I didn't get you anything for Christmas.
Oh, okay.
And I thought that if you shared these with your boys.
Oh, it'll be like Christmas again at our house.
The boys will love this.
Yes.
Now, I'm not going to lie to you and tell you
Did
that
you read the ingredients?
enriched cornmeal, ferrous sulfate, niacin, money, riboflavin, vegetable oil.
I'm getting a headache just listening to that.
There is cheddar cheese.
Oh, there's real cheddar cheese in those?
Milk cheese cultures and salt enzymes.
Okay,
I don't know what a salt enzyme is.
There's real cheese.
Yeah. And then here we go. Corn maltodextrin. When's the last time you had a well-cooked corn maltodextrin?
Corn maltodextrin.
I mean, it's like, right?
Do you put these on your sandwich in place of cheese?
No. But look at
That's
this.
a yes.
Natural.
Oh, here we go.
And artificial flavors. What's an artificial flavor for cheese?
The color.
Wow. Whey protein concentrate, monosodium glutamate, which I think is preservative.
It is.
Lactic acid, citrus acid.
All preservative.
And artificial color yellow number 6.
Yellow 6.
Far be it from me to have Cheetos that were a yellow number 5.
It's like a party in a bag.
I know. Your kids
so
are going to love this.
My boys actually will be like, they'll go into the pantry to get a snack, and I'll see if I can catch it for you. I'll see if I can record it, because they will be so shocked that's
so
in
you
our
won't
pantry.
tell them.
I won't tell them.
So you'll just put it in the pantry.
I'll just put it in the pantry.
Come on, you're a good
Somebody
mom.
will find it. It'll be like a gold mine, and they'll be through it in a weekend.
So I don't know if you know this.
What?
Dogs love those.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's that airy. It makes a crunching sound, but it does stick all in their
leave a
gums.
mustache?
So for a while they're, trying to clean their teeth, and, So.
I'm not going to introduce the new puppy to Cheetos. Not yet.
Oh, yeah. You might want to wait on that.
Yeah,
one.
we'll hold off for a little bit.
I think there's a rule that puppy has to be a year old before it can eat Cheetos. I'm sure.
It's like honey and peanut butter with kids.
Yeah.
How have you been?
Really good. Just really busy. We're getting ready to do our fundraiser.
Yeah, when is that?
That'll be the 21st 21st and 22nd. And so, which I was going to talk to you about, so I might as well do it since we're here. I'll invite you all to the fundraiser.
Yeah, he's here.
So our fundraiser is normally, which is the Saturdays the 22nd, we do 12 hours of like a telethon. So people will come in, we'll talk on the air, all the DJs will be here. And then they'll sit at the conference table, call their friends, ask them to donate, right, to help us do what we do. But this time on Friday night, we are doing a spaghetti with Fischetti.
Stop it.
Sauce cook-off.
Oh my goodness, I love this.
So
you got to get Angie from the Brick in on it.
She's in. Angie's how it got started between Angie and I.
I'm
We
so
were like,
excited.
Let's do this. So I can't enter my sauce.
What?
Because I'm a judge. That would be.
Do you need me to make your sauce? Kurt, stop recording for a minute.
So the recipe is, so I made the sauce because I have the recipe from my great grandmother from Italy, but they're very simple. You know, it sounds like a big deal, but really, you know, it's tomatoes, garlic, and put it on pasta, right? There's not a lot of ingredients. But the one thing is they cook it for a long time. Yeah. They cook it down till the flavors blend. Yeah. And so that is one thing. It takes, I won't eat it till it's been at least 3 days cooking.
Wow.
Yeah. And then it's just,
I still don't know.
Yeah.
Because you still haven't made it for me. But I'm sure when the boys and I move in, we'll have spaghetti our first night.
And I will tell you this, if you have really good spaghetti sauce and you crunch some Cheetos into it,
oh my God.
Oh, it's a whole new...
Then it's ruined? Is that what?
So anyway, so I made sauce, took it to Ange, and she loved it. She said, this is really good sauce. So we're going to get a bunch of people to do that. But what it is it's a fundraising dinner. So it'll be the 21st, Friday. It'll be at the Brick. And they're going to have one long table like Italians do, like an Italian table. And, I might need to order some bread.
I was going to say I might know a gal that could bake you some bread.
Ooh, okay. Might have to work on that. All right. So anyway, you sit at the table, and it's like $75 a plate, which is reasonable for a fundraiser. Yeah. And then whoever brings sauces, so they will have a sauce. Angie's going to make a sauce, but you'll have two choices of spaghetti, either spaghetti or penne pasta. Okay. So you can have either the big noodle or the stringy ones, right? Yeah. And then there'll be three of us judges. So Elena, I get that right? I never can get her name right. Liana. Yeah. All right, so Liana's a judge, and she manages the Brick.
Yes.
And John Nicoletti, who is a chef, is a judge, and I'm a judge, right? So there'll be three judges, right? Okay. And we'll judge it, and there'll be prizes for the best three, the top three spaghetti sauces. And then, you'll be able to enjoy a great meal. So the meal's at 6, and then one at 7:15. So there's two meals.
Fun. Two seatings.
Because, Brick's not real big, but it'll give room. And I got Ray Allen to come and sing Sinatra.
That's going to be perfect.
So you'll be eating.
You'll be wined and dined.
Oh my God. Oh, and there is wine.
Yes, there is wine.
So we can't give wine away. It has to be corked.
Yeah.
So I've got to work with them at the Brick on how to do that. So because a lot of people, I know I grew up, even as a kid, there was wine at the table when you had spaghetti all the time. It just came with it, right? So anyway, that's that'll be on the 21st.
21st.
At 7, you can go online, 93qradio.com. You hit the donate button and you can fill it in, right? All right, I want a plate, $75, blah, blah, blah. And then, but right after the 7 o'clock dinner, right across the street, they're having a comedy show.
At Palermo's?
At Palermo's.
Or is it Palomas?
Palomas.
I always say it wrong.
At Palomas.
Then I get you saying it wrong.
Yeah, I saw you did. I saw that. At Palomas, right across the street. So they got a comedy show at 8 o'clock. So it'll be just a night out. People have a good time. And then Saturday, just come hang out with us. We're going to have it all open. They can see the podcast room. They can see the TV studio downstairs. So anyway, so we invite everybody, help support us, community radio.
And they get tickets on 93Q?
They what?
Where can they buy their tickets?
Oh, they can go to 93qradio.com, hit the donate button, and once you've donated, like if you were just buying a dinner, you would put $75 and you would put for the dinner and then choose either 7 or 8 o'clock.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sorry, choose 6 or 7:15.
Okay.
That gives them 15 minutes to, get the table squared away.
To turn it.
Yeah. I don't know who's going to be the waiter.
That's a great idea. I'm
I
excited.
wonder if I have to wait her.
You do. You do. My boys could wait.
They're in.
They're in. That's Cheeto. You just bought them.
Tell them there's an extra bag of the crunchy
Yeah, where
ones.
that came from.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, look, we're going to be right back. I'm excited about our next guest. I've known him for quite a while. I actually met him, I think I did, on radio. And he is a radio guy. He lives and breathes. It comes out every pore of his body, radio. So stay right with us. We'll be right back. And we do want to, one more time, just say thanks for watching us. I don't even know if I'd watch us. I'd sit and watch you.
Totally
I'd
watch us. We're fun.
Are we?
Yeah,
Okay.
we're fun.
We're good. We'll be right back. 93Q Radio was an opportunity for what's called an LPFM to give the community a voice.
The big part of what's happening here is it's us. It's the community of us.
The work that Mr. Fischetti has done with us to promote public education has been absolutely groundbreaking.
They have the pulse of our community, from the nonprofits to the local governments. If you want to find out what's happening in our community, get on board with 93Q.
And 93Q does so much to help our community, helps us promote our local events, as well as local businesses, and tell our story about what we do here in Yuba Sutter.
The folks that work here, they're part of our community, so they understand our needs, and that's important.
Local radio is so important. During times of emergency, they're there. We lean on them to provide information to our public.
My wife and I are glad to support 93Q. We're going to do it on a monthly basis, but I really recommend that if you want to make your community better, it's a great place to take a first step right here.
So if you can, reach deep into your pocket and give to 93Q.
93Q is a great partner for law enforcement, and they're a great partner for the Yuba Sutter area.
We're really asking people if you can give $10, $15, $20 a month, and then that enables us to continue to put small business spots on the air, nonprofits, organizations that are they're using every dollar they got just to operate, and they don't have extra money to spend on really promoting their cause. And that is why community radio, to me, I'm grateful to be part of it, and that's why it's important.
Hi, and welcome back to In the Tank with Fish and Minnow. We have Bob Day on, who I just met. I'm excited to get to know you more. I feel like we could be kindred spirits here.
Yeah, especially with the bread thing. You got the whole homemade bread thing going on.
I'll have to bring you a loaf now. Now I feel bad. Now every guest is going to want a loaf of bread and our special treat.
Bottle of wine, loaf of bread now. And you're like,
now your sauce.
They want, you guys actually are. You're both hill people.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
It's true. It's true. Fish knows a little bit about me. Yeah.
Yeah. She grew up in the hills.
Up here?
No, I was born in Bryceland, Humboldt County.
I know what Humboldt County is.
Born
Who don't?
I was born up in the mountains.
Yeah.
Yep. I was a little billy goat.
In the big redwoods.
Yeah.
So I wanted to really kind of dive into Bob Day, because I've got to know you. You and I are both storytellers, right? And so we talk about stories. And we both were in the military, so we talk about that, right? Both veterans. But one day during the course of the conversation, and I don't really remember whether it was when we were on commercial radio or here, I think it was there, and you told me at one time you were the DJ at Marysville High School, which I didn't even know they had a radio station. Yeah. And you have a radio voice. And you said, but you never told anybody who you were.
No,
so
I was
they
the
would
Elephant
see.
Man.
Huh?
I was the Elephant Man.
So you never said your actual name?
There was only two people that I'm aware of that knew who I was.
Did you disguise your voice?
Except for the teacher.
Oh, okay.
You know.
I feel like you have a very distinct voice. People didn't know who you were.
It was the 80s. Most of them were loaded most of the time. But I had to, I had to take radio and TV broadcasting because at Marysville High School, I had been kicked out of every class that you could get English credits from in the high school. I mean, they even bumped me up to, when I was a freshman, they bumped me up to sophomore English, and then senior level English. I got kicked out of those classes too. So my counselor, Mrs. Glasscock, she said, there's only one class left that you can get English credits from. And she goes, I don't think you belong in that class. What class is that? She goes, radio and TV broadcasting. And I go, why don't you think I belong in that class? She goes, young man, listen to me right now. That class is nothing but a big party. But, yeah, right on. Sign me
Piqued
up.
my interest.
You're right. I don't belong there. I should run it.
Sign me up.
And Doug Criddle was already in that class, and he was one of my best friends, and he's, I guess, a Marysville councilman now or something, but he made it fun right off the bat. Doug was one of those guys that always pushed me to do better, no matter how good I did it. He always, come on, you can do better, right? So, I was kind of bummed out. I don't want to. Only nerds take radio and TV broadcasting. Stoned nerds, by the way, was the 80s. But man, I think it's pretty accurate to say I fell in love with radio on my first day in that class. And I still remember the first thing that Doug and I did. It was a commercial for a pesticide company, and it was for a grade. And we had the 16-track tapes. Nothing was digital. We had to use white cotton gloves, a razor blade, and tape, Scotch tape, to edit 16-track tapes. And but I've always had the radio bug ever since I was a kid.
So you graduated from Marysville High. Have you always been in this area?
Technically.
Mom, I just like you more and more.
Okay, you went to Marysville High School.
You went to
I
school.
said on the air one time that I dropped out. Right. And Paul Preston, I was on Paul Preston's show at the time. He goes, no, you're not a dropout. I go, quit early without permission, right? He goes, no, you're a walk away. And Paul being in education, he brought up the difference between a walk away and a dropout. He goes, you didn't fail. You just got tired of it. I thought, that's true, because the reason I walked away from Marysville High School, well, there were more than one. One, I was trying to quit partying. It was a big party, but the main thing was it interfered with work, because I've always worked. And, and I've been gainfully employed. I mean, working for other people since I was in 8th grade. I built motorcycles when I was 13, and going to school, and school being nothing more to me anyway than a big party. It was just interfering with work. And a lot of my teachers, and this is no slight on Marysville High School, it was just a certain group of teachers that I partied with. So all of these different elements just told me I'm wasting my time. I could be working all day long instead of just at night. And so I left. But why I said technically was because later on, I got my diploma on my own.
Oh, okay. But you grew up here. That kind of my point was you are a local boy.
I was born, when I was born, we lived in Loma Rica. Of course, I was born at the hospital. But Actually, I am.
I just thought maybe you're on a ranch. Your dad delivered the calf, delivered Bob, just moved on down the line.
I'm not really sure about that. There are different versions of the story.
My mom told me I was born in a taxi cab. She said, we didn't quite make it. And I was like, what? You tell me that now? That's a great story, right?
Wow.
But but you always had a connection with the community, which, I'm not trying to jump too far ahead, but it was just an easy shot to ask you to come be part of community radio. You love this place, right? And
yeah, I do actually. And it's funny because I grew up like most people do. And no matter where they live, the town they grew up in, they grow up complaining about it. Mm-hmm. Oh, I hate this town this, and this town that, and yada, yada, yada. And I used to be the same way. Couldn't wait to get out of here, And it's a natural thing, I think it's boredom, And then I left, and I didn't go to a bunch of exotic countries, My overseas tour in the Army was actually Alaska, so I was still in the United States. But I've been to every state except Hawaii, right? That I won't go to. But traveling around the country...
Wait. You'll go to Alaska, but you won't go to Hawaii?
Yeah. I'll never go to Hawaii.
All right, I'm not going to get into that.
I don't think you want to open that can of worms here, sir.
I just don't think it's smart to stand on
Kurt is over there saying the same thing. You and Kurt have an agreement on that. I'm not sure what's going on.
I just don't think it's real smart to stand on the tip of an undersea mountain.
Yeah.
You're just waiting for a good wave and you're gone.
That's already exploded.
Yeah. But I got my first radio when I bought a transistor radio out of the back of a Spider-Man comic book when I was 4.
Wow.
Awesome.
I kept that with me at all times, even at bedtime. And I listened to it. If I wasn't asleep, I was listening to the radio ever since I was 4. And because of the influence of my dad and who my dad was and a bunch of other elements, I was actually listening to adult radio when I was a little kid, right? And the conversations between people, it would just suck me in. And my dad thought I was kind of weird, And then when Rush Limbaugh came out, it's like, Dad, you got to hear this Rush Limbaugh dude, man. But anyway, so I've always had that radio bug. And growing up in the mountains, at the time period I did, I would say probably well over half of the people I knew didn't even own a television, and those who did, it was probably a little black and white tube.
You can relate to that. Right?
Yeah, and I think on a
foil on the
on a good day we had maybe 2 local stations, and that was it.
Yeah,
so I always had my transistor radio, and I remember it quit working when I was in 8th grade, so it had a pretty good long run.
Wow.
I remember that was a big deal. We had a TV, right? But you got like 3 stations. That was it. But there were certain programming back then. Westerns were huge on TV.
Oh, yeah.
And then, of course, the Wonderful World of Sports and Disney. We'd come home from school and the Mickey Mouse Club would be on. Whatever, right? But it really wasn't. It wasn't like TV was like it is now. 197 channels and just so many things you can view. And so we really were outside a lot. We played baseball sun up to sundown. But I do remember, and it's my connection with radio, is that when it came to music, that was a thing. I remember I was laying, and my mom had a radio in her bedroom. And so she was at work, and I went in there. I'd go in there periodically and just lay in her bed and listen to the radio. And I'd kind of fall asleep, and I woke up because I heard the Beatles for the first time. Mm-hmm. And for my generation, that was different. It was like that spoke to my generation, said music just changed. Because before that, it was Everly Brothers and Ricky Nelson and
the
Elvis.
British Invasion.
It was
the Beatles.
Yep, and I understand that their manager told them, write 3 songs for the American teenagers, and I will take you to America, and they did. And we received it, right? But it was radio. And there was a guy, we had, they got Wolfman Jack and we had Johnny Rabbit. I found out years later there were multiple Johnny Rabbits, which with rabbits you gotta, that happens, right? But it was a persona. It wasn't actually a guy like Wolfman Jack was. And so when you were listening to radio as a kid, it sounds like you were listening to a lot of talk radio.
I listened to a lot of Wolfman Jack too.
Oh,
I
man.
loved him. He was oh man, he was a hero. I must have seen American Graffiti so many times, and it was only because Wolfman Jack. And I used to do an impression of him. I can't do it anymore, but yeah, Wolfman Jack. He was a big inspiration to me, you know. And you know, and the thing with the radio, you know, I got kicked out of all the English classes in Marysville High School. I had to take radio and TV broadcasting, and you know, I fell in love with it the first day, but I didn't really think that I was going to go right behind the mic. And after we finished that first commercial for that pesticide company, it was non-existent. It was just an assignment.
Yeah, yeah.
Doug was like, "You ready to go in the bullpen?" "What do you mean? Bullpen?" He goes, "Yeah, come on." He pushed me, and I'm like, "Oh, no. I ain't kidding you, man." As soon as I hit that talk button, I was there.
That's it. You're in. Yeah, yeah,
You're
yeah,
hooked.
yeah.
So, but I didn't want any of my friends, because I hung out with the cool kids with the four-wheelers. I didn't want them knowing that I was in the nerd class, right?
That's really funny because I never thought of radio DJs as nerds. Well, for one thing, back then you never saw them unless they did an appearance.
I didn't either. I thought they were cool, but it wasn't cool back in the 80s with the four-wheelers. So I didn't tell anybody except for my buddy Tuna Can, right? Tuna Can knew, 'cause me and Tuna Can were always together. And then one other kid found out later. But it got to where, you know, and I had to do a set every Wednesday and Friday at Marysville High School live from 11, I think it was 11 to 1. It was 2 hours, 2 or 3 hours. And they would broadcast it over loudspeakers around the campus, right? I'm like, I can't let them know who I was. So I had just watched something about the guy they made that movie, The Elephant Man, about later on with Cher. I had seen something like that. And they're like, well, come up with a pseudonym. The Elephant Man. So,
which everybody thinks you weigh 300 pounds in,
right?
Because the visual is right. It's the Elephant Man.
All of the other students in the class, they were playing mostly disco and country, right? And I didn't like either one at the time. I liked classic rock, right? It was funny. I liked classic rock and I liked classical because I used to play music, you know. But I was classic rock, and the students at Marysville High School loved it, and they were broadcasting it during the lunch break and all that stuff, but no one knew that Bob the Elephant Man was actually me, right? And I'd be like, "Hey, I'm back. It's the Elephant Man spinning the tunes for you at KMHS." And I just slightly alter my voice, but I remember when they found out.
Was the station just was the station just at the school?
Broadcast. It had a 1.5 mile radius.
I think schools should still have that.
Right? Go back to it.
You know?
Yeah.
The room's still there.
What?
Yeah, the room's still there. One of my sons, I remember which one now. I have a bunch of them. Told me they use it for storage.
I am so disappointed.
Bob's like the original Spider-Man. Nobody knew who he was.
Yeah.
He's Peter Parker.
He's Peter Parker.
A friendly neighborhood.
Pick the pepper.
Yeah.
But you know, the funny thing about it was I had so much fun as a DJ in high school, just spinning tunes.
Yeah.
I loved it, you know. But off and on for the last, 46 or 7 years or something like that, or since I was 14, I've been off and on in the radio, but all these different parts of the radio industry, which normally ended up, you know, news, weather, talk, stuff like that. But one thing I love about the Q here, I've made full circle and come all the way back around to where I started when I was 14, doing exactly the same thing.
Playing music.
Spinning the tunes for you.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Now, here it's at the Q. It rhymes. So it works out really well.
So when I met you, you were on talk radio, but I actually heard you before I met you.
I remember the moment we met.
Okay, I
Never happens.
Yeah.
Because nobody can ever remember how they met Fish.
Okay, so
And he can never remember either.
I remember
Tell us.
being in diapers, literally, with Jesus.
when
as
you
my
met
witness,
me, you were in
know, I feel
diapers.
bad. Yeah. And I was out of them, according to my mom. I was out of diapers completely at 10 months.
Wow.
Now, I remember crawling around on the floor looking for sugar. I can remember.
Wow.
They used
All right,
to steal
so-
the sugar a lot.
Well, then tell us how you met this one. Because now we need to know.
It was over at KMYC when Tom was still alive.
Mm-hmm.
The old KMYC was still up on what they call Mount Huth.
Yeah.
You know?
15 feet above sea level.
Yeah. And
Mount Huth.
that was back when I was still doing the Great American Story in a camper. I was doing it on an $18 microphone I got from Walmart. I had this idea, and I'd had this idea for my whole life. One of my idols was Paul Harvey. And I wanted to do what he did, which was telling stories, but I didn't want to copy him. And I always believe there's only one Paul Harvey. There will never be another Paul Harvey. But I want to throw in what I call an audio environment. So the person hearing the story can actually see the environment in their mind. So that's when I started adding sound effects, and then later music and sound effects. And I call it an audio environment where you could actually close your eyes and then you're in the story, you know? And at the time I was doing news at one of the local radio stations. I'm not going to tell you which one because it didn't go well. I mean, my job, I did a really good job. Everybody around here loved it. And if you heard it back then, you know what station I'm talking about. But I didn't say anything bad behind the mic, but I was in the studio while the mic was on, and I said something that was a big FCC violation. It was right after that incident with Howard Stern.
So it was still hot on, yeah.
So FCC had just multiplied their fine for this list of words by like 100. It went from $1,000 fine for the radio station to a $20,000 fine or immediate termination. And they didn't want to fire me. In fact, the manager was crying when he fired me. You know, he said, I have no choice. This is when I learned the hot mic rule.
Yeah.
Every mic is a hot mic,
Yeah.
you know. And I was frustrated with something, and I just spouted off some good old Scottish verbiage, not knowing that all of Yuba Sutter just heard it.
Oops.
He immediately moved
But it
right
was
out of the
good.
third class.
But this is where you got lucky in that it's
Good. I
not
think
everything
that was a
plastered.
God thing, because
Yeah.
if I had stayed there much longer, I would have become too complacent, and I wouldn't have pursued the Great American Story the way I did. That pushed me. I had to do something now, right? And I'd been working on this idea for a long time. So I went back to work in that camper, and I started the Great American Story. I talked Tom Huth, who used to own KMYC, into running a couple of them, just to see how it works. At that time, it was a 2.5-minute story with a 30-second ad in the middle of it. And to make a long story short, it evolved into 88 radio stations, 3.5-minute stories with sponsors, and then later evolved into a 2-hour talk show, which actually involved each show involved 3 stories.
Wow.
And that's how I
Is that how you met?
had
Yeah.
heard who Bob Day was.
I went the
So
long
I hadn't
way around
met
on
him.
that answer.
Well, I had
It's all coming back
But
now.
so-
I hadn't
Yeah,
met
it
him,
was-
but I heard
yeah.
the story and I went, this is really good stuff.
Yeah.
And so I would listen. I mean, I have a favorite. It's on my computer. It's a great story about Wallace, right?
Wallace.
Which was a wolf
Yeah.
that he had. And he's right with the sound effects and everything. You can literally close your eyes and you can hear him trudging through the snow, right? It's just a great story. But they were all like that. So you would hear the story and you didn't know who the person he was telling the story about was. And then in the end, he said, this was, Ben Franklin, right? Mm. And so it was all just different Americans and just great stuff. Mm. And so in the end, I think you told me you had over 300 stories.
Yeah, there was, there were 1,200.
Wow.
Wow.
There were over 1,200, and then somebody, and I know who it was.
Well, don't look at Kurt, and just made him nervous.
Looking at the camera, whoever's out there.
Oh, you're looking at the camera, okay.
Was
Kurt got a protective,
come back.
Kurt just got a protective order.
Somebody who I had previously work on my computer several times, my main computer, was angry with me, right? And still to this day, I'm not really sure why. But anyway.
I'm sure it's something you said.
went into my computer from the town that he lives in. That's why I know who it was.
Oh.
And deleted everything that had to do with the Great American Story. Everything.
Oh, my goodness.
Nothing else, not photographs, not documents, just the Great American Story. Well, a couple of guys that own a local computer store contacted the radio station and said, hey, we heard about what happened and we want to help you out. Bring us your computer. So I brought the computer and the external hard drive, all that over there. They were able to recover 300 of the stories.
Oh, that's where I got the 300.
Originally it started out as 1,200. Wow. Unfortunately, probably half of that 300 were the originals that were made in that camper. So sound quality is not real good. Mm. And as you know, the new Great American Story is going to be coming soon, but it's going to be new. Gary, the digital genie around here, he's going to try and clean up the ones I made in the camper.
Oh, yeah. He'll take them, put them in. Yeah.
Because, he can work wonders with digital technology. But I'm going to start doing new ones. And it's going to be different. It's going to be better. I'm not going to be doing it in a camper or a storage room either anymore.
No, we got a production room. You can just go in there and sit down and do them.
Late state-of-the-art equipment, so it's going to be really good. A lot of people are looking forward to it. Yesterday alone, I had 5 different times that somebody had brought up, hey, what happened to the Great American Story? I thought, anytime God talks to me, he confirms it a couple of different times because I'm a little thick in the head. Sometimes I'm apprehensive, to make sure I know he's talking. And I think it's a God thing, and he wants me to go back to it, and I enjoyed it.
So is that how we met?
We were at
KMYC, right?
I was at KMYC, yeah, and I had just walked in, and I had some of my sons with me. Of course, they were tiny at the time. I always made them go in the break room and stay in there. I was getting ready to do the show, and then you walked in. Dwylinda introduced us, and somehow or another, we ended up sitting in the studio at the table just talking to each other while Santos was trying to fix something.
Always something broke over there.
And that was the first time I met you.
Well, I know I ended up being on your show with you for a while. We had a good time, right? Yeah. In fact, I think it was that time we had talked about you coming on the show, and I said, yeah, come on the show anytime you want. Now, I don't remember how many times it was after that. It was quite a few times. And I always get comments, too. Oh, the combination between the two of you. Oh, I love the combination between the two of you and Fish. Well, I think something happens. I had to learn, really, that was my first experience, but I had a music program, and then I ended up plugging everything in, doing commercials and the whole thing. So I learned a lot, but I had to do the show. It was a 1-hour show, ended up being 6 hours, and I did it by myself. Mm-hmm. So I had to learn how to do that. But to me, it's not the best. It's always better to have 2 people. Like even morning shows here, we do 1 person, but you listen to most morning shows, they got 2 or 3 people on there. They're yucking it up and having a great time, you know.
Yeah, that banter back and forth is golden.
Yeah.
You know, you don't need notes. You don't need any. If you have someone to talk to, you don't need notes. You just talk. Yeah. And in fact, I've often wondered why people need to take notes, because if you feel a certain way about something, why do you have to write it down?
Because some of us have long brain.
He was asking you that. That question was directed at you.
I saw it.
Because I don't take notes either. I'm sure he was talking to you.
Oh my gosh.
Are you a note taker? Admit it.
No, I'm a list maker, though. I'm a list maker.
I do too, but the funny thing is, I never look back at the list. I think part of the list thing, because I'm always making lists, I think that kind of cements it into my mind while I'm making the list, and so I don't have to look back at it anymore. But, you know, I took a break for a long time, and the funny thing about it is I've literally been on both ends of the microphone in radio, because I got out of broadcasting for quite a while, and I was building communication towers all over the United States. I built over 800 communication towers.
Wow.
So I've literally been on both ends.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
been on top of the tower, and I've been behind the microphone.
Yeah,
But
a
I
lot of
took
people don't know this. He put our tower on top of the Hart building.
Really?
Yeah, I did.
Bob installed our tower.
Yeah, if anybody out there has seen a crazy guy on the roof of the Hart building, that would be me.
That would be you. Claim
Yeah, because
it.
I guarantee it won't be me. I don't think I'm talking Kelly into going up there either.
No,
But
It's a great view, though.
I bet.
at one point, I ended up in Oklahoma looking for a job, you know, and I really needed to get out of the tower industry because I'd been doing that for years, and I had broken my neck years before. And yanking on all those great big ratchets, it was just killing my neck. And I'd been doing it for years, and it got to where I could barely even move my head. It's like, I got to find a different job. And I ended up living in Oklahoma for a while. And just a little voice in my head always bugging me all day, every day. If I'm not doing radio, I feel like I'm not doing what I need to be doing, what I enjoy doing. So I thought, I'm going to try to get a job in radio, right? And I couldn't. And to make a long story short, I ended up in American Broadcasting School in Oklahoma City, right? And, oh man, I loved it. I couldn't get enough. And the funny thing is, I was older than everybody there, including the instructor. The only guy that was my age was the owner. But I didn't have to try at it. And these kids are just struggling. So they're like, how do you do that? I don't know. I do it. I always felt like you guys over prepare. You know, how do you, and they couldn't understand it. When it comes to, well, in this case, radio, I think you either got it or you don't. And if you got it, you don't need notes, because why do you need notes if that's the way you think? I don't know. You see what I'm saying? But anyway,
Well, there
so
is
I ended up
a sense of natural ability. You can just have a conversation, and not everybody gets that when you get on the mic, it doesn't matter how many ears are listening.
Right.
If one person is listening, that's your conversation.
Right.
And so it just, and actually, I don't know why people get intimidated. I can understand, like, if you're in an audience with a lot of people, because they say public speaking is the number one fear. But you're behind a mic. There's nobody there.
I must have missed class that day.
What's that?
I must have missed class that day when they said microphone was the greatest fear.
No, not public speaking.
Public speaking.
Not the microphone.
That's what I meant. Yeah. I don't have a
The
problem
being in
with
front
that,
of a big crowd.
Well, I was like, yeah, I got to get in there. I got to try, at least try. And so I told my wife, who I was married to at the time, I told her what I was going to do. I said, you know, I found out Clear Channel headquarters is right here in town.
In Oklahoma.
Yeah. Oklahoma City. And she goes, no. She goes, you tell me you got to get a real job and all this stuff. I'm like, well, I'm going to get a real job. And I was looking, and I got to go for it. So I found out where Clear Channel headquarters office was. It's on the 14th floor of one of the big buildings there in Oklahoma City. And I don't remember exactly what I said to the security guard, but I said something. And I pointed over his shoulder and I said something. I can't remember what it was. And he looked and he started walking over there, and I slid in and I got in the elevator and I went up to the 14th floor. He didn't. I don't think he even noticed. I don't think he even noticed, But at that time, Clear Channel, they had the entire the 12th, the 14th, and the 17th floor, right? And I told my wife, I said, oh, I'm gonna go try and land a radio job. Found out Clear Channel was right here in town. She goes, that's the biggest broadcasting company on the planet, because at the time it was. Right.
Which, if people don't know, it's now iHeart.
Yeah.
They went through, they got,
right.
They had some issues, so they had to get rid of that name, and they came up with iHeart. And so I got up to the 14th floor, was looking around, wasn't really sure where I was supposed to go or who to talk to. And I ran into this one guy. He was just going into one of the studios. I don't even remember his name now, but, I said, yeah, where do I go to apply for a job? He goes, here? I said, yeah. He goes, this is Clear Channel. You know that, right? And I go, yeah, I want to get into radio. He looked at me like I was like a one-eyed dog or something, And anyway, so to make a long story short, I completely BS'd my way into that job. I convinced him that I could run around this studio. I know everything about it. I can, might need a few, freshen up courses on some of the new technology, but I got it covered. And by the way, I snuck by the security guy.
Not have it covered.
I got the job, and all of a sudden I'm looking at all this digital equipment and computer equipment, and I'm the guy that used to edit tapes, 16-track tapes with Scotch tape and a razor blade. And I'm like, oh, I had to learn it before he found out that I was full of beans, right? And I did. And in the process and what I had to do was far worse than I could have possibly imagined. I was hired as the producer of the Ron Hayes show, which at that time was the biggest ag and beef commodities show. I know it's boring, but it made it more difficult.
We have farmers here that, ranchers, they'll love that part.
I found myself running back and forth between 9 different studios every morning, starting at 5:30 sharp. I was always there. 4:30 sharp. I was always there at 4:15. And I would run between all these studios, getting all of the production work ready for Ron Hayes, so that when he sat down behind the mic, all he had to do was hit the talk button, talk for 2 hours, and then leave. I took care of everything else, but I had to learn how to do all that before the boss found out that I had BS'd my way into that job. So what I did, I had a notebook, right? Everything that I learned, I wrote it down, right? And then I would refine it and refine it and refine it. I think I went through 3 notebooks, and by the time I was done, it was all neat, orderly. Everything was broken down the way that it should be. And I ended up having to leave. I had to leave to come here to take care of my dad because he was dying, right? I didn't want to leave. I love my job. But anyway, so I found myself. I BS my way into a job as a producer of the Ron Hayes show. I had to learn it all. I wrote it all down. And when I left, he asked me, he goes, "Can I have that notebook?" I go, "Sure." And he actually had me sign something because they were going to actually publish it for Clear Channel.
Training manual.
Training manual.
Yeah.
And so I came here to take care of my dad, and the only job I could find in radio was the news. I did news over in Yuba City.
What year was that? What year did you come back?
I think that was 07. No, 06. I think it was 2006.
Well, the thing about talk radio, it's AM. Now they have an FM because the FCC gave all the AMs an FM signal, but really they were AM and
Well, back then, FM was just two AM waves running simultaneously. That's what created what we call stereo.
so the AM had just about lost being anything because there was nothing on it then. Rush Limbaugh really, in many ways, brought AM back. So it really got tagged as AM radio was now talk radio.
Right.
So everything was talk on it. And so I remember when you were there, like doing a show, that there were 2 or 3 of you guys that were local guys, right? You know, you were from this area or, you know, had different styles of shows, but it was talk radio. And so at that point, you were really, I mean, other than the fact that you had somebody operating the board, that whole show was your responsibility. You know, what you were going to talk about, like you said, you had the Great American Story. So you were able to put that together and produce a show, but you had to pay for the show.
Yeah.
You had to go get your sponsor. And I think a lot of people don't understand that about talk radio, local talk radio is you pay for that time. Right. And like if you wanted to get on KFBK, it was just astronomical, the price to do a 1 hour show. So
$3,800 a month to do one Saturday show per week.
Yeah.
Wow.
At that time. It's even more now.
Yeah.
So it was really good. Tom Huth, who had that station, you know, he allowed people to come in and do local programming. And it was really
If you
good.
paid him.
If you paid him.
Paid him.
Give me my $200 and we're good, right? Yeah. But that was really, and then we had talked about different things that you had experienced in working in radio, right? Mm-hmm. But I didn't realize, you know, just how much it meant to you, right? And then, you know, of course, I ended up over here, and the opportunity came up because you like built a tower, but I never put it together. Well, maybe he'd like to actually be on the air.
Yeah.
You know, I just didn't think about it because I knew he like built towers and he did that stuff. And we're not talk radio, we're music.
Yeah.
So when he says he went full circle, I didn't know the beginning of the story.
You didn't know the starting of the circle.
Yeah. So it was like, you know, yeah. You know, and now, you know, you're the afternoon drive guy 4 nights a week. And
you know, and I think it's a God thing. I don't, you know, I know I've said that a few times, but I really do. Because, you know, and as you know, you already know the story. I was in Nashville. I was in the mall in Nashville with one of my sons eating a gyro. Over here they call them gyros. One of the greatest things a human can ever eat. But anyway.
Noted. I know where we're going for lunch.
although it depends on the bread.
That's important. But I had been talking to my son Joe and his wife Vic about, you know, a lot of different things, but I told him, I said, yeah, I just wish I could get back into radio. And they're telling me, you need to start the Great American Story. My son was such a fan of the Great American Story. He actually had made the web address across the back tailgate of his pickup.
Oh,
The
that's
GreatAmericanStory.com, right? And there were other soldiers that would listen to it and stuff like that. And we were talking about that at the time. We were eating the gyros, right, in the mall in Nashville. And I get a phone call, right? I'm like, oh, Fish. Oh, that's funny. Huh. Hey, Fish, how's it going? And I told him, he goes, yeah, what are you up to, Bob? And I said, I'm eating a gyro. I'm in the mall in Nashville. He said, hey, I was wondering if you might want a job, radio. Whoa! That was quick.
Yeah.
And Joe actually told me once afterwards, he goes, yeah, I was thinking, well, God doesn't waste any time with Dad, does he? And I remember telling you, yeah, I'll be back on whatever day, and when I get back, I'll
I remember that now. Yeah. Yeah, that was, well, it's just, doing community radio has got so much freedom, right? I mean, there's some things we can't do. We can't do commercials, right? But we do underwriters and sponsors, and you just can't. You can't mention price points, so you can't say, this is Joe's Buffalo Wing Shop, and
no call to action.
Yeah, you can't say come to it, but if it's a fact, you can say it. So it's a fact where they're located. It's a fact what their phone number is and how to get more information.
Gary's really strict about that no call to action thing. I remember talking to him one time. I said, okay, well, can I say call 1-800? He goes, no. Well, how do I give somebody the phone number to call if I don't tell them to call it? He goes, information can be obtained by calling. Really? And that's where, after all this time in radio, this is my first time in community radio, and I never realized there was that much of a difference.
Yeah, I ended up taking a class which was really good. I did a research class, so I was able to find out. But even when I came here from being on commercial radio, the spots I started writing at first, they were just commercials. They were just the same thing. And Ken had to go, can't say that. Yeah. Nope, can't do it that way. Well, how do I do it, right? And it took me a while to dissect it. But really, it boils down that you can still give them the facts about your sponsor.
Right.
So you can't do something quantitative. You can't say, this is the best euro in America, right? Because you can't prove it is. Huh?
Gary talked to me about that.
Yeah, it's like, oh, well, you're listening to 93Q, the best radio station in the world, right? It's like so. But part of that, what's really good about it is there's so many other freedoms. I can play just about any program as long as we have a sense of community and local.
Right.
And I really feel like that's why people listen to 93Q. And so we had you in the mornings, and the mornings are just nuts because you got to do the Facebook. You got just the technology has changed so much. And Bob was like, it's almost like, poor guy, every button he pushed, it was the wrong one, right? And so,
and then technical problems started. It's
to
figure it out, and now the stupid thing went down, and it was every morning.
Yeah,
and plus that, I can do good interviews. I'm good at doing interviews, certain types of interviews, and early morning community radio. I'm not the guy for the interview.
No, this guy drinks 12 cups of coffee.
Yeah. A day
in the afternoon, so God knows what his morning was like, right? So I thought about it, and Ken, who started the station with me, he said, Fish, you are a terrible afternoon drive guy. You're a great morning, and I went
swap.
I'll put Bob in the afternoons, and he kills it. He's in the afternoon. I love it. He makes sure that things are announced, right? He's very clear, and. We do laugh sometimes because Bob has his own style. Nobody else calls this place the Q. Bob calls it the Q.
It's the Q.
And so Gary said something to me. I said, no. Let Bob be Bob. That's Bob. Yeah. Bob, I'm on the Q.
You can't stifle him.
Yeah, and like you said, he'll say spinning the tunes. Yeah. Nothing is spinning in there.
In his head it is.
Well, but see, you get it because we still know records. As a matter of fact, they've made a comeback. And so it's like that. So you really, you have your personality, and in the afternoons. So I see now why, Ken, that's not me.
Yeah.
I'm a morning guy, right? And it's, even though I don't really like getting up that early, but.
Yeah, I'm up that early anyway, but I'm just not the right guy for a morning interview.
You're not at 100 yet in the morning.
It depends on who I'm interviewing and what the topic is, but like talking about someone having the top half of their head sliced off when they fall off of towers.
Yeah, that's not sure. Nobody's interested because they're like, okay.
I actually did that my first day doing the morning show, and as soon as I told that story, I was like, oh, no.
People are eating breakfast.
Bob's like, well, I just have the one correction.
How can I put this gently?
There's kids listening,
Yeah.
right? Or not,
We're having family breakfast.
I'm gonna fall off the bus, right? You're fine. It's like. So I just want to tell you this because we've been talking about this. This will encourage you greatly. The format for the afternoon drive is pretty easy, right? Mm-hmm. And we play 8 decades of music, but we want DJs to have a greater freedom. So I'm telling you right now in front of everybody, if I hear a little more classic rock, if that's what you like, I am not going to be offended because that allows you to have your personality injected because all of us have different musics we love. Like in the morning, I'm not a disco guy, but I will play the snot. I will play the snot out of disco because it moves. It's got momentum. And so, I'll play that stuff. But I actually was just getting ready in the band, just getting ready to pick up all the Black Anguses all the way up and down the coast, Oregon and everything. Signed the contract, right? Our manager actually had us in there. And the guy said, well, just one thing. He said that Black Angus is considering going with this new type where you have a guy spinning tunes, right? And I went, I said, so if that goes through between now and the start of your first tour, right? The contract's void. We were like, nobody's going to do that. Who's going to listen to some guy playing records? Man, we're a live band, man. Boom. They called the manager and said, well, the corporate made the decision. So I hated disco after that. I hate disco, right? It's like, so anyway, man, Bob, I just appreciate you, man. You got a love for radio. You love your local guy, love the community. We didn't even get a chance to talk about it.
How many kids do you have? I need to know. You've mentioned a gaggle of sons.
I know 6 of them.
Okay.
6 that I know of.
Okay. If you might be Bob's son.
You can comment below. 1-800, where's my dad? Right? It's like,
this just turned into the Maury Povich, so.
Yeah, 6 boys.
Wow.
So we didn't even talk about your military career. So we're probably going to have you back in. But I do want you to know, man, you're much appreciated. Man, you make sure the information gets out. You really fit really good here. And like you said, you like it. And I will make sure that your paycheck continues to have the free coffee. Okay, I'm just saying. You can pick out.
Wait, he gets coffee free?
Yeah. And speaking of free coffee,
that's right.
Well, and I appreciate you too, and it's reciprocal because and I could go on and on and on. People, Bob's getting all sentimental, and no, it's true.
No, we don't get sentimental, Bob. We have allergies.
Yeah, it's just
this with me. It really was, it really was a God thing with me. And it has been a huge blessing to me to be able to come over here, spin tunes, spinning tunes for you right here at the Q.
That's it.
Oh, I love it. I can't get enough of it, and so. But there's more to come, I every day, probably at least 2 or 3 times a day, I'll have somebody bring up the Great American Story, and it's coming. No better place for it to be.
That's awesome.
Right here at the Q.
I can't wait.
The only way you get one of these is to brave the tank with Fish and Minnow. So.
Oh, this tank. I was thinking I was already going dark.
He's over here like, I didn't wear my swim trunks today, but okay.
So, man, we appreciate you coming on and just really grateful. And, it is, you're right, it's reciprocal. We, everybody here, we enjoy this. This is fun, I haven't got Kelly to jump on the air yet, but potentially that could happen.
I'm cozy right here.
I think it'll work out pretty good.
So listen, we want to thank you guys for, watching. We're going to be back in a minute, but you got to know Bob Day just a little bit better. He's got not just great American stories, he has great Bob Day stories. And so I think Kel and I are going to have him back, huh?
Oh, yeah. We need more
And then
stories.
we'll get a chance to talk about his military career, what he did in that, and just some other areas. Bob's met famous people and has just had really, I hate to say this, he had a colorful life, like I'm doing his eulogy, right? It's like, oh, no, he's going to be around for a while. But Bob Day, he is our afternoon drive guy, right, on 93Q. And so he is usually here 3 to 6, right?
Yep.
Yep, there you go. And if you ever really want to get him something, a 5-pound bag of coffee, he'd love it. He would love it. We'll be right back. 93Q Radio was an opportunity for what's called an LPFM to give the community a voice.
The big part of what's happening here is it's us. It's the community of us.
The work that Mr. Fischetti has done with us to promote public education has been absolutely groundbreaking.
They have the pulse of our community from the nonprofits to the local governments. If you want to find out what's happening in our community, get on board with 93Q.
And 93Q does so much to help our community, helps us promote our local events, as well as local businesses, and tell our story about what we do here in Yuba Sutter.
The folks that work here, they're part of our community, so they understand our needs, and that's important.
Local radio is so important during times of emergency. They're there. We lean on them to provide information to our public.
My wife and I are glad to support 93Q. We're going to do it on a monthly basis, but I really recommend that if you want to make your community better, this is a great place to take a first step right here.
So if you can, reach deep into your pocket and give to 93Q.
93Q is a great partner for law enforcement, and they're a great partner for the Yuba Sutter area.
We're really asking people if you can give $10, $15, $20 a month, and then that enables us to continue to put small business spots on the air, nonprofits, organizations that are they're using every dollar they got just to operate, and they don't have extra money to spend on really promoting their cause. And that is why community radio, to me, I'm grateful to be part of it, and that's why it's important. All right, we're back, and I absolutely enjoyed having Bob on.
He's fun.
Because he's our afternoon guy, and I think it's kind of the same as when he did radio in high school and nobody knew who he was, right?
Yeah.
And I think he's got a little bit of that going on here. So when we do outside events, we're going to have to make sure Bob gets there, right?
Yeah. Put a face to the voice.
Yeah.
He's a super neat guy. I could listen to him tell stories. We were talking beforehand. I'm like, I could listen to him tell stories all day. He's just a storyteller, like you guys were saying.
I should send you, I have it on my computer. Yes. I should email you. I have the story of Wallace, and it is just a great story. Okay. And it'll really give you an idea of what he does. And I am hoping he's working on them. We really need to get the Great American Story back on. People like that. They like storytellers, right? And what's really funny is I remember clear back when I was in school, they said the way that history was moved forward was people that told stories.
Yeah.
And then when it became music, they told stories with music.
Through music.
So they were called minstrels, right?
Yeah.
So they, right,
Yeah.
And it's like, so, yeah, he's right in key with that,
That's awesome. When did he come back? When did he start the show here? More recently, or has it been a long time?
About a year ago,
Oh, okay.
I think
So more recently.
he came back. I called him, and I remember now, right? And I had asked him, but what had happened was he was going to do the morning show, and it was just,
he said he was not a fit for him.
No. And so, I mean, I don't know if that early in the morning's fit for anybody, but man nor beast, right?
Yeah.
But he loves the afternoon drive. He likes informing people. He's very articulate.
Yeah.
So he'll go through the stuff we have, and then he'll go he'll go on the internet and look up what else is going on in the community, which really fits with what we do. And so I just want to see him be able to play more music. I didn't realize he was coming in different times and just
That's awesome. He's like, I came in late night the other night.
Yeah, which is fun.
Yeah.
Right? You know, you can just get in and play whatever. And, you know, I mean, in the morning, I'm doing interviews.
Yeah.
So it's different. It's like, oh, okay. So
yeah. What
it's been fun.
It has.
You know, really have missed you. I wonder, you know, I was like, maybe I should just go by her house and sit on the porch.
Just sit out there like a sad kid.
It's like, boys, go get him. He's a stalker.
Yeah, great. There's another lost puppy on the porch.
Although the boy, see, I can just take that bag of
show up with Cheetos,
sit on the porch, and the boys would come get me.
They'll let you in.
Yeah,
I'll come home. You'll be sitting on the couch. The three of you will be eating Cheetos. It'll be like reverse adoption.
They'll share with me.
They will. Yeah, they will.
Those are good boys.
We're adopting a grandparent.
That's a good idea, right? So anyway, we want to thank you folks for watching, and I hope you're having as good a time as Kel and I. We just, this is fun. Even Kurt has a good time. He does. You know, he's back there. Sometimes I
look over and he's just giggling. It's so funny.
Yeah, he's messing
and we entertain Kurt, if nothing else.
Yeah.
Kurt will keep the show alive.
That's why we're here. Entertain Kurt. That's the goal.
His wife pays us.
She does.
No, she doesn't. Sorry.
Anyway, listen, thanks. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And let your friends know, see what they think of it. And again, as always, leave a comment, even though I don't check them. Kelly said she is. And, you know, let us know, is there somebody that you think, oh, they'd be great. They'd enjoy interviewing them and having a good time with them. But it's just one more time here on In the Tank with Fish and Minnow. We just want to unfold people's lives so that, you know, I swear, if I can find out if we got the rights, right, we'll be going, you know, they're the people in our neighborhood. We'd be like singing that. Anyway, one more time, thanks so much for watching. We will see you next time.